You can support this show at patreon.com/ASA podcasting.
The wasteland is a post-apocalyptic mess as the sole survivor wanders out, about to see the rest. Nuclear explosion sending out the gamma rays from deep within the core comes gross atomic waste. From deep within the core comes gross atomic waste.
Hello and welcome to the 481st edition of the Fallout Feed. I am Andrew, joined by a flock of my favorite Fallout folks tonight. We've got Jess. What's up, Jess?
Hey, Andrew. Greets, everybody.
And Ray. What's up, Ray?
Hello, hello.
Welcome back, Ray. Was off last week. Had a fun trip. Glad he's home safe. And glad your property is all okay down there. And thoughts to everyone out there in the American Southeast right now who's struggling with remnants of all of the Hurricane Helene damage. Very, very tragic. So we're here for you guys if anyone out there needs an ear to rag on there. So
Definitely a few listeners in the area and some who haven't checked in yet. So definitely would like to hear from people.
Yeah, would love to hear from all of you folks down there. Know everyone's okay. But tonight on the show, we'll go over our gameplay. And I know that we got to set aside at least 2 hours for Jess's gameplay specifically because there's just so much of it. And then if there's time, we might be able to do other things on the show. I don't know.
I don't know. No, Ray and I are ready to talk about Starfield at Shattered Space a bit, but obviously no spoilers. To be fair, Ray's ready to talk. I've barely started. I'm a little ways in. Ray, surprise, surprise, finished already.
Is that a surprise? I don't know that it is.
It's not.
Spoilers,
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. That'll be the spoiler. Is that
Ray finished it?
I did, and I'm not going to talk about it.
He's not going to talk about it, but
He's just going to be quiet on it. On the
not
subject.
excited. We'll see. Okay. Anyway, shall we get into the show?
Yeah, let's go ahead and roll into it. We got a little bit of got a double dose of game time tonight and maybe a little bit of iguana bits. And I have a shout on the way out the door. So let's go ahead and roll right into it. Ray, you've been off for a couple of weeks. Did you get a chance to play any video games when you're out on the road?
Nope, I had a big gap in my gameplay.
Boy, sometimes you need to walk away.
Yeah, I went to California for a family trip, and we had all our kids together, and so we spent all our time, kicking back, relaxing, having conversations with everybody, and it was interesting how the timing worked out really good. So I didn't have to worry about Shattered Space dropping while I was gone. I got home Monday night, got it downloaded, and jumped right into it on Tuesday.
So just in time.
Oh, yeah, it was perfect timing. And before I left, I was I'm struggling a little bit with Fallout London. So one of the things that I like to do when I play a game like that is to try going at it with different characters, different styles, and everything like that. But unfortunately, the first character I started after I finished, I went to try to take a character through the Camelot faction and got stuck because I had a quest that wouldn't progress. So then I started a character that collected all of the cute Cthulhu dolls and did that. Then I started a character that was collecting all the vinyl, and I got everything I could, but then I got to the point where I had to start playing through the main storyline because that's the only way you can get into Westminster. And so that kind of took the wind out of the sails on that one. So then there's a section of the map that is heavily irradiated. And so I've spent a little bit of time there, but not a lot of time there. And so there's a lot of that area that I haven't really explored. And so I started out another character that is gathering up all the radiation protection I can get. And part of that is so there's a perk that you get when you gain affinity with Mountbatten. And so I went and collected Mountbatten, and now I'm trying to gain affinity with him. Unfortunately, the things that Mountbatten likes
Mm-hmm.
is drinking and stealing.
So maybe not right for this character.
Well, I hadn't planned on investing in any alcohol resistance, so I wasn't
So-
going to do Party Boy.
Doing a number on you. And for listeners, obviously, who aren't playing Fallout London, Mountbatten is a ghoul companion, a very dapper ghoul companion.
Yeah, and pretty efficient with his pistol. But and of course, I've never really had any problems when I get to the point where I meet him, taking care of the enemies that are around that area. There's a pretty heavy presence, right where he's at. A bunch of hooligans and a bunch of robots. But of course, this time I was a lot lower that level than I usually go to when I get into that part of the game. And so it was a little bit of a struggle. And of course, I got there and everybody was in a different position that I usually find them in. And so they were a lot harder to pick off. I typically make characters that do great on one-on-one, but not necessarily so good when I get ganged up on. So I have to always try to draw people out away from the crowd, pick them off, and do that one at a time. So because of the positioning of these guys, it was really hard to do that. They were all clustered up. They wouldn't break off. Nobody would chase me. And so it was a long, slow slog to get him out of there because I think I might have been level 5, when I went over there to take him. And so that was a bit of a challenge.
So you're a little frustrated with London right now? Is that it?
The thing that frustrated me with London is that I've started having crashing problems again.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was maybe just like the build possibilities that you were finding that after a couple playthroughs, you couldn't do as many like permutations and different ways to play too.
Yeah,
with the way
there's
it's
a little
designed.
bit of that because you really, it's really hard to not do the main storyline.
Right. It's set up that
It
way, like even more than like
forces
New
you-
Vegas.
Yeah, it forces you to go through that, and you really can't do a lot outside of. You can't just ignore the storyline.
Mhm.
You have to push through it to get, anything meaningfully done. I was able to do the Cthulhu, but that was a very focused, very narrow character, and there's over 100 Cthulhu dolls, and you only need 16. So all the ones in Westminster were fine staying in Westminster.
Yeah, they belong there now.
So, but yeah, so there was a little bit of frustration with not really being able to do anything unique. Then coupled that with, starting to run into some frequent crashing. I
Mhm.
did a little bit of research, and it's possible that could be due to having too many characters.
Oh, wow. That old chestnut.
The save file is
Save file bloat. I mean, it has affected the game on other platforms and other versions. So, yeah. Not usually a PC issue, though, right? Don't PCs not usually have that problem, but maybe this build.
well, I think it's just the way that one of the mods, I think it's the faster load time mod is the one that has the biggest problem with the number of save files you have.
Okay, yeah. So you might try segregating them, like weed them out and try moving them all to a offsite folder or something.
Or I might just delete them.
Whoa. Sorry. Give me a minute. I need to breathe. No, but you know how I am with save files. More the merrier. I mean, I try not to have more than 20 or 30, but I like to every couple hours in a long playthrough, at least keep one every 5-10 hours,
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but still really fun. Still a lot to discover. I've really put an emphasis on going inside every single location in the game just to see what's what. Because there's so many fun things that you find, when you just go in a place, even without a quest. So still having a blast with that. So I got home and started up I had a character that I had kind of prepped, to take into Shattered Space. And I think the character was level 41. I had taken him up to the Unity and then turned and walked away back into my current timeline.
Yep, that is a good character to do here. One who has seen a lot of the game, done a lot, but is original universe ready to move on.
And it just pretty much my standard background trait package is I do file not found because I've got a mod that leaves the starting skills blank.
Right, which is how it should be. It lets you choose your starting things, kind of like picking major skills in Oblivion or something.
And then for traits, I do, typically Terra Firma. Occasionally I'll do Spaced. And
can you do both? You can't,
no,
right? They cancel each other
no.
out. Okay.
Yeah, those two cancel each other out. But, most of the time, since most of what you're going to be doing is on a planet surface, you do Terra Firma. And I take Introvert because I'm not going to have any companions.
Right.
And I do Serpent's Embrace because that's the only religion that gives you something meaningful throughout the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just picturing the meme now. I don't always believe in religion, but when I do, it's a great serpent. It's a great big snake.
Yeah. Because when you grav jump, you get, it's something crazy. It's like 8 hours or something ridiculous amount of, you get a boost to your oxygen and health. And the way that I play, I am always grav jumping somewhere.
Right. And that's much more practical than just like a box of loot you're not going to use.
Right. You might get a few credits for it at the very beginning, but otherwise it's really not going to do anything. Now, the downside to Serpent's Embrace is that if you don't grav jump, then you have a negative effect on your health and oxygen. But again, since I'm constantly grav jumping the way that I play, it's not a big deal at all. In the regular game, the only time I've ever had it come up as a dialogue option is if you do that starting constellation mission where you go to find Mawara, you have an encounter with some Varun ships and you can talk them out of shooting you. But if you have a Serpent's Embrace, but otherwise in the game, 0.
Right.
I mean, you never have any advantages. You don't get any interesting dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of fun. So this character has that.
It's a good setup of a character for Shattered Space. Having the Serpent's Embrace is going to change things a lot. From what I've heard, and I've even seen some pictures, there's some custom dialogue for that for sure.
Yeah, pretty much every conversation you have has at least one Serpent's Embrace option in the process.
They're very religious, those Varun. It comes up a lot.
Enough, not when it actually matters. So I went through, there's some interesting new weapons, although I will say I had gotten so many of the new laser pistols that I had sold them thinking I would end up with more when I actually went to test some weapons, but I haven't seen one since.
Are you talking the Penumbra or?
No, so the Penumbra is a heavy weapon, kind of an energy launcher.
And that's a big unique weapon to this update.
So if you have the slow time power, you can shoot that weapon and then run past who you shot before the projectile reaches them.
What? Really? It's a slow moving projectile?
It's just so slow.
Is it like in some sci-fi movies where you shoot like an energy ball, just kind of like drifts slowly to wherever's hitting?
Yep.
Oh my goodness, that's actually kind of great.
Yeah. And the thing you have to watch out for is Andrew would probably kill himself.
Running into it.
This is not a weapon it has a huge area of effect.
I
And
like
so,
how you put the blame on me and not the insolent follower who actually the blame lies with.
well, so, but
That's
isn't it
not
your
my
fault
fault.
as the follower in the first place?
I'm just trying to get them a job, man. I'm just trying to do a good by them.
All right.
But there are some
Um,
fun weapon variants. There are a lot of different weapons in this, right? Kind of like Varun versions of the main weapons.
So I only found 4 unique weapons,
Okay.
ones that we didn't have before. There's another heavy weapon. It's called the Starstorm, and it's a particle beam Gatling weapon.
Ooh, okay. I like laser gatlings.
Yeah. So instead of a laser Gatling, it's a particle beam. So it packs a heck of a punch. It uses the heavy fuse ammo, and like any heavy Gatling gun, it chews through ammo pretty darn fast. The Penumbra is pretty efficient with ammo. The Starstorm is not, although it's good, but it's not as good as a Magstorm.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the different mag weapons and the different Varun star weapons are really kind of the best. You know,
Yeah.
got to go one variety or the other. I didn't mean to drag you into a weapons rabbit hole. I mean, we're talking about your character getting there and stuff. But what do you think? Like, how did it start for you, or how'd it go?
So it started pretty easy. So I had just done a bunch of upgrades to my ship, including putting a new reactor in it. And so I needed to fly up and get all my power settings adjusted.
Right.
So I flew up to Bessel 3, and all of a sudden all this crackling and static, and there's a big space station right there.
You're like, funny how I didn't notice that before when I was landing.
Right.
Yeah. So for listeners, we talked last week, but to start Shattered Space and Starfield, as long as you've finished the one small step and you've done that and you just jump to any system where you don't have a mission or a quest active, it'll be there. So if you're on a planet, you can literally go into orbit and boom, there's the start of Shattered Space in orbit around you.
Now, still on the weapons front though, so the Star Slash it looks like a Equinox, so it's got the same shape, a little bit of differences here and there, but this thing, that is a good weapon. So it's really what we had hoped the Equinox would be. It's a powerful laser weapon, so that one I highly recommend hanging on to. You can in the process of the Shattered Space main quest, you can get access to a unique named version of it, and it's quite good. But anyway, so I hopped in the space station, did the thing there, and then managed to get myself to Varun Kai. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. I mean, they really did a nice job of the look and feel. And even after I finished, it was I went and set up I tried to build a base just outside of the city. There's some lakes and there's a little island on one of the lakes, but I couldn't build in that area. I don't know if you have to leave that cell and go to another part of the planet to be able to build, but I wasn't able to build in the middle of the lake on that little island out there.
That's interesting. So in the developed area of Varun Kai, where it's not procedural, it's actually crafted normally, you can't start an outpost there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went to another planet in the system, and it was quite pretty. And so I was able to build a base there, met some of the local fauna, and posted a picture of one of them in the Discord.
Yeah.
And he was quite the cutie.
It's shaped like one of the nightmares. Like that creature design on a couple planets, but I hadn't really seen one in that color before. Mustard yellow trundling along.
So all in all, a very beautiful place. The side missions were very interesting. Definitely get out. The main quest sends you out to a lot of different places.
That's good. That's what they need to do, is connect things to things so you can find those distractions. Because what I'm hearing, just to get to it, is that the main quest of the expansion isn't that long. That you can do it 4 to 5 hours without too much trouble, right?
Yeah, it's definitely if you just mainlined it, you would definitely get through it pretty quick.
Which isn't how we normally play Bethesda stuff, and or
No.
nor most people. And as long as the main quest sends you locations where you find side quests and points of interest and other things, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, but definitely get out and visit the different locations. It's kind of weird sometimes how it chooses to give you map markers for various things, but
Not others.
not other. Others are, I mean, you can be on one side of the map, it's clear on the other, but it's got a marker. You get over there, and now you've got 10 other markers right around it. I would say if you think about Dasha City as the Bulls, and then the area around it is kind of a series of mountains and plateaus and things around that.
Yep.
Anything in that area, very interesting.
Right.
Anything outside that area, super not worth it.
Yeah, so they did handcraft the main area. Like there is a central area of the city, then there is the area surrounding. So if they finally did craft a larger area with handcrafted locations, they can't have like spacers and all kinds of other people here on Verun Kai. That wouldn't make sense.
Wouldn't it?
Not so much. You wouldn't think.
Or pirates?
Yeah. Or all these different cultures. Have you found some?
Do you want me to tell you?
Oh, is it a spoiler for you too, or just like the game kind of messing up a little?
No, they're meant to be there.
Okay.
They're part of some of the side quests.
That's two different things. So yeah, the side quests and stuff like that, that's different than the procedural random stuff.
But yeah, most of what you find outside of the crafted area is, little huts.
Mm-hmm.
There may or may not be a zealot there, but most likely it's going to be farmers or miners, but they don't have any fetch quests or anything for you to do.
Yeah, I'm being told by people that they find exploration has been rewarding with a lot of side quests and such, but I don't know how much when you get out into hut region you're going to find.
Yeah, no, but definitely investigate everything within that mountainous circle around the city, because there is a lot of fun stuff to come across. And one thing that I liked that they carried over from the main game. So if you do the ground pounder mission, and you've gone through that and completed it, you can meet that UC captain again.
Oh, really? Captain Mao? Captain Me? I'm forgetting her name.
Yeah, I can't remember it either.
But I really liked her.
But you can bump into her as a random ship encounter in another system. Likewise, there's an NPC that you can meet and do a quest for as a side mission here, and then you can bump into her later at another location.
I understand if there's a few for various reasons, side quests or whatever, but like you wouldn't want to have much. Kind of hard. The more people know a secret, the harder it is to keep for sure.
So it was definitely fun. So I will say that my main frustration, one, I was kind of glad that the DLC was disconnected from the payment. So I hadn't just, freshly dropped the $30 on
Right.
the DLC. It happened a long time ago, kind of forgot about it. It was all part of the get the game early.
It was just a bonus. Yeah, you paid to play early and not for the DLC. No, the value proposition is a question. Also, it's Captain Myong, by the way. Captain Myong is the one from Ground Pounder.
There we go. So, because I like to do so many characters,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to do things different ways. So the main thing for me is that you can do things differently and come away with a different outcome. I didn't experience that with this.
Right. Not getting into specifics, but you felt channeled. So it's a bit linear. It's a bit linear in the resolution there.
Yeah. And so because I like to try so many different things, different ways and everything, I will inevitably do the bad options. The natural way is to do the good options. And somebody that only does good options will not know any better. Somebody that likes to try the bad options too, that's, where it kind of falls flat.
What did this character do? Options first or?
No, did the good options first. Got got all the way through, did a bunch of side quests and everything, and then a hard save. I had a hard saved at the first decision point, and then I went back and tried the other options. So
Back to your topic about cost and paying and such. That is something that I've heard. So it's been out now for a few days. Obviously, reception has been mixed. It seems to be like what I've seen from most everyone is kind of how you feel about Starfield is kind of how you feel about the DLC in a lot of cases. That people who are enjoying Starfield is like, yay, it's more Starfield and it's pretty great. People who did not like it, it won't turn them around. It is not the Far Harbor of Starfield like some people thought it might be, that while the area size might be similar, it doesn't quite have the same impact on the game. And $30 for the DLC might be a bit much. That it's funny because I feel like there's two levels to this. They've given us all these updates on the way here that everybody got. Everybody got the maps, everybody got the Rev 8 and got all these things. If some of those, more of those were in the DLC, then it would feel more worth it. So maybe it all adds up to it. But I mean, I feel $30 is expensive for an expansion or DLC anyway. I mean, 20 is what most of them have been at most, right? Nuka World or Far Harbor or whatever. That it does seem a bit pricey. And maybe it's just because it was bundled in and for $30 people with the early start and they just kept it that way. But yeah, it seems a bit much and it doesn't seem to add as much as some people had hoped. So, I mean, I'd be remiss not to acknowledge that.
yeah. So because I don't play Starfield the way they originally intended, this DLC doesn't add enough to the way that I play to make it a value.
Right. It doesn't affect the rest of the settled systems anywhere near as much as it would need to make a big difference to you. And the fact that once you're there, you have to do certain things a certain way for it to progress. That's that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah. So one thing I do need to test. So just like, skipping Constellation completely, I need to see if there's a way to skip the Varun quest
And still do side stuff here?
And I have to imagine that you can't do side stuff, because one thing you do notice is, so when you first get there, none of the vendors will deal with you.
I mean, of course not.
They'll tell you, I'm not authorized to do business with you.
Yeah, go away, Outlander.
Also, a little short on vendors there. If you're an entrepreneur, a good bet would be to go there and set up a rock store.
Maybe a mineral store.
There is a Chunks, which no matter where you go, fast food follows.
Hilarious that there's a Chunks. Obviously, a very distant franchise. I don't understand how that works, but
so it's super limited in that respect. But once you get there, you can travel back to the settled system and then fly back directly to that star system.
And I mean, considering that the location has just suffered a lot of destruction, maybe there was more before. Whatever happened.
I started trying to contemplate why Starfield suffers so much from a lack of consequences in anything you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if it isn't because of New Game Plus, because of the Unity and the fact that everything resets, that they didn't really feel to make any hard consequences.
Well, it's interesting because you'd think that would be the perfect opportunity to make hard consequences. If you get half the settled systems after you, or you upset a lot of people, then you go through Unity and they don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you would think that you could have harder consequences with the Unity, but you're right. Maybe it is part of the design. I mean, yeah, you can choose to work with factions or against them, but it's not like you're joining the Stormcloaks and every group of Imperials is going to fight you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can, even if you have a bounty, in those systems, if you go through and wipe out a bunch of Freestar ships and have a big bounty on your head,
mm-hmm.
when you encounter the next bunch of Freestar ships, if you help them take out the spacers, they'll pay you.
Clear your bounty, but not everybody knows. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And you can just clear your bounty. Like the systems in there, that's interesting. I mean, we know people have gotten themselves in trouble and everybody after them and they can't. But when you know how to work the system, even a little bit, setting up, a bounty board at your outpost or knowing independent stations, even joining the pirates. Like, not everyone attacks you just because you've joined the Crimson Fleet, right?
I mean, really, the only thing that I can think of that you can do that, really has any kind of impact is if you complete the Mantis mission, spacers and pirates will be afraid of you and run.
Right. I mean, there are things where people comment when you get to certain levels. Certain different populace will comment on your achievements, stuff like it, just like the other games. That is there, but it's less consequential and it's more spread out. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's another consequence of not having the same shared world space too. Like it is, but it's not. Like there's all these individual world spaces instead of one world space. I don't know.
Yeah, but we'll see. So I did manage to get a bounty in Varun Kai, but I couldn't figure out how to clear it.
Oh,
So I
okay.
tried-
There's a consequence for you.
Yeah, the Trackers Alliance doesn't handle Varun.
You need to find yourself a snake handler and get him to settle down.
Yeah, but yeah, so I just replayed the quest that I inadvertently shot somebody because they walked between my bullets and the enemy that we were both fighting. It was their own damn fault, but there was no talking to them. They were shoot on sight,
They weren't hearing it.
and it was a low bounty too. So, but anyway, there's still a lot to explore. It's still new. There's a lot of things I need to figure out on the mechanics of it, what you can and can't do to find the place. And
We'll talk about it
and
more
deal with it.
as we get there. More people will come in and play. I know several people have finished the main part, like you. I know a lot more who have landed and just kind of started exploring and are only like halfway through. And then a few like me who have been not really doing it at all. How about you, Andrew?
I have not started the DLC at all.
Okay.
But I did have a question about Starfield in general. Since it's spooky season, if you had to set up a few side quests or whatever in Starfield, are there any fun, spooky things to do in Starfield? Are there any space vampires or any like mummy in pyramids or any stuff like that? Is there any Halloween stuff you can find in Starfield, you think?
Trying to think. I mean, obviously,
Pirates, of course.
Entangled is a spooky quest. Like, there are definitely some spooky quests. But Halloween, like, really spooky or scary, I don't know. Horror-based quests.
Any space werewolves?
No,
Come
No.
on.
not really. No, obviously stuff with the Terramorphs can be pretty darn scary. One of the early quests with the UC Vanguard is about as scary as it gets. Very Aliens-esque.
I just thought maybe they'd be something fun to do.
Yeah, there is. So probably I don't think you can go through this quest without doing it in the main storyline, but there's a facility that you go to and you bounce back and forth between an alternate universe.
Yeah, that's Entangled. That's
Is that
Entangled.
that one?
Yeah, it's near the end of the main quest, but that's a good one. I love that quest. Totally spooky. I would also say abandoned oil rigs. But again, this is a random location, procedural location, like some of the spooky ships, the abandoned oil rig, like some of these places that are definitely more horror oriented. They're random or late game, unfortunately.
No, that's all right. Sometimes we would like to do creepy Fallout quests, so I'm just curious if Starfield had any obvious things like that.
I need to look for creepy creation and stuff like that, see if there are any kind of like those kind of mods coming in on Starfield, because that could be
Skyrim.
fun.
Skyrim, they're always easy. There's tons of zombies and vampires and all sorts of that sort of stuff in Skyrim. And
Yes, Solior just mentioned the Colander ship quest. So the Colander is an abandoned, old, large colony-style ship you can find, and that's a good one. That's a great one.
so where's the Event Horizon quest? That's what we're looking for here. Come on.
It's similar, but yeah, no, that's a good one.
Yeah, my gameplay is also relatively light, Jess. I actually did play some Starfield, though. I popped it in and was messing around with my second character that I loaded a long time ago. And when I loaded up the Xbox, I was actually loading in Fallout 4, starting a new survival character just to run around and do something. And then I noticed I got prodded, Starfield needs an update. I was like, oh yeah, the DLC though.
Yeah, it does.
So I updated that, and as it was downloading and updating. I created another character in Fallout 4 Survival just to putz around with a little bit. But then I hopped back over to Starfield and I was like, okay, I haven't played this character in forever. I remember I just barely started it and then wanted to do a few things and then kind of left it there. I loaded in on Earth and like where Indiana would be. I was like, oh, okay, I see what I was doing. So I was like, okay, I must have been, all right, I'm going to I'm going to try to play the settlement stuff. That's what it was. I've never built an outpost. So, okay, I'm going to plop an outpost down. So I popped a little beacon thing down and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how to get into build mode. Let's see.
Yeah.
It's a little different. So it took me a while to figure stuff out and read menus and yada, yada. But I didn't really even have enough components yet to really build anything useful. So I decided, well, this is Earth, so there's probably useful minerals and such around. I'll just run as far as I can in this direction with my scanner up and see what I can find, and then I'll fast travel back and then run the other direction with the scanner on, see how many components I can collect, everything. The only thing I fucking found on Earth is chlorine. What the fuck is up with chlorine? What the goddamn, man?
You know, when they vaporized, swimming pools were the last things to go.
all those swimming, it's crazy how much chlorine is around, but nothing like a little iron here and there, but ugh.
Earth is not a great place to settle. Like out of all the planets to settle, there's a reason why it was abandoned.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, obviously we must have used up everything.
Everything is
and it was stripped away.
Yeah.
Yep. So the only thing that's left is chlorine, lead, water. What happened to the water?
Yeah.
Chloroslanes and mercury.
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing super useful.
That makes sense. When they pulled away the atmosphere, I mean, it makes sense all the water was evaporated and torn away too after that. I mean, how strange. The outpost system too, like we've talked about, is maybe the one that not necessarily needs the most work, but it's not as fleshed out. Outpost building in my opinion, isn't as rewarding yet as shipbuilding and most of the other parts of the game.
I'd never even laid down an outpost beacon thing yet. So this was my first time, like, just even doing it at all. So, but I should probably play a little bit more, collect a few more, building materials, etc.
Definitely,
and probably choose a different place where I can put a resource collector down of some kind instead of like a barren desert of chlorine wasteland. Not much to do in the chlorine wasteland. So yeah, I don't know. I'll putz around with it a little bit, but you guys said the DLC is recommended like 20-30
so
level.
Recommended level is 35 officially.
35?
Officially, when you click on the space station, it says recommended 35 plus. But you can play any level. If you're up for a challenge, 20 is fine.
What happens when you go to the new game? Are you level 1 again when you start over? No, you're not.
You keep all your level and skills. Mm-hmm.
You keep your levels and skills. Okay. So I could play with my other character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and you could go at a lot lower level if you start off farming some advanced weapons.
If you do it the Ray way and make your low level character tough.
Oh yeah, I can't do that. Ray's like, oh yeah, all you have to do is be a level 2, fight against the pirates level 80, and you'll get great stuff. I'm like, except for you have to kill them, Ray. That's the part you assume that I can do, is you have to be able to kill those bad guys in order to get their prizes.
Well, I'll probably have to do a stream for you. So there is a way you can get good stuff without having to do any fighting or very, very little fighting.
Oh,
and it's called thievery. Let's go.
Points into sneak.
Yeah. Well, you got to go to a high level system. So I always go to Serpentis because you can get there in the stock frontier.
Okay. Yeah.
And you hop around on the planet. I usually go to the moon 5C, 5B if there's a hostile encounter over 5C. And then you just hop around on the planet, on the moon, until you find a Muybridge Laboratory.
Say
You
the
go to
first word again. Mooey.
Muybridge. Edward
Muy?
Muybridge.
I never knew that it was named after somebody. The Muybridge Library. It's like what? It's like MUY Bridge, right? Muybridge.
He's one of the early famous scientists. But there's weapon racks in there that you can farm. So if you save, you do a quick save 400 meters away, then you run over there, you dodge all the Varun, the pirates, the spacers, whoever happens to be there. You run in, you look at the weapon, and if it's a weapon you like, grab it and then run away. If it's one you don't like, then you reload your save and it'll change the weapons.
You want to go in the back door to get access to them without fighting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you sneak in the second building, not the main building, and not the one down the hill. Although once you get good at it, you can go down there too, because there's a weapon rack in the basement of that building.
You know all the
And
secrets.
Even if they're shooting at you, you get the door open and run down, and they won't chase you down into the lower section.
And there are a few in fixed locations. Like as much as everything's procedural, there's at least one or two that you can see from before you land on the planet.
So, and that way you come away. So this character that I went through Shattered Space with, I was probably level 5 or 6, and I ended up with a Kodama, which uses the 777 ammo, which is super common, and it had bleed damage on it with the flechette rounds. That was a super good weapon. I upgraded as I went up in levels, but it was strong from the start. And then the other one was a silenced AA-99.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both advanced, so super high damage, and carried those through. They're still my main weapons, and I'm level 50. So
That's really solid then. And this character made it to 50. That's your highest level character, right? If it's the one that got to the Unity?
No, I've had characters that I got up over 60 to be able to unlock ship parts.
Right. Okay. Earlier on. Yeah, that makes sense.
And those characters just go round and around and around and around Serpentis, fighting the Varun ships there to level up.
I do enjoy space combat. I really do. That's fun to get back to. Andrew still isn't really into that. But yeah, so you just played Earth. Did you have any other gameplay this week, Andrew? Anything else you got into?
My whole goal was to play castles. I didn't really get any castles in, but when I'm up here at my in-laws, there's generally lots of hanging out, sitting around and stuff. So hopefully I'll be able to dig in to castles more, because I feel like I would just kind of want to give it crap, but I also haven't given it a fair shot yet, really, and tried to understand stuff. So
Yeah.
I actually need to play it, because I feel like if Steve is that taken by it, then there's got to be something super compelling about it.
There's something there. There's definitely something there, but it is different. And I find that the more you engage with it, the more compelling it becomes. And the less you engage with it, the more you're like, wait, my character just aged 8 years because I haven't played in 8 days.
Oh, wait.
And like, half my people are dead.
If we don't open it? That's not good. Oh,
and
no. Is everyone dead?
Yeah. Well, see, that's kind of my problem. So because I've been too busy to play much the last 2 weeks, and I went to log in, and I'm like, oh, RIP this person, RIP that person. Oh my goodness, your poor spouse.
No,
like I felt horrible.
Like a Tamagotchi that you leave on the counter and walk away from.
It was
Everyone
a lot like
dies.
that. My little computer people, and all the babies I had, because I had a baby boom last time I played, and they're all like 16, 18. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious,
They're
what
all
happened?
pregnant already. Babies having babies.
Yeah, gotta love that the medieval incest.
I do. I do wish there was a way to stop that, but I need to say no. Only play when I'm playing, or pause, or have a year pass a week and not a year pass a day. Because some of us don't play as often, and I'm not sure how I feel about it yet.
So, do they? I mean, I know that's like on purpose so that you can be more exposed to the whatever ads or play. Are there ads in castles? I don't remember.
Oh yeah, there are ads and monetization and all that stuff. I mean,
So
but you can get more characters.
They're wanting to force you to play every day so that you're more exposed to the ads more frequently, and therefore blah blah blah. I get that, but like, do they de-incentivize like like if you only play once a week is it bad?
No,
You know what I mean?
I don't think
Does
so.
that
No,
make
you
sense?
can absolutely play that way with a little bit of a
Okay.
plan, and you can make sure you have kids, and you can get new characters coming in to visit. And you can redeem rewards just by doing a few goals because they're the daily
Yeah.
quest kind of deal, like where you just achieve certain goals and you unlock things, and you'll unlock these little packs regularly, and you do get new characters in them. I've got so many characters. Did I ever tell you
Oh,
guys I had
fun.
Ulfric in my castle? I think I mentioned that.
No
right?
way.
Yeah, I got Ulfric.
Atta boy.
He's good. He's actually good buddies with the Khajiit. They work the forge together.
You reminisce about the wagon.
Must be. Yeah, I know. It's
Good
an
old
alternate
wagon
history.
rides.
Alternate history for sure. I know some people have got other. It's just kind of like in
Oh,
Fallout
are people
Shelter.
complaining about
Games
that?
character.
Oh, this is not lore accurate.
I haven't seen much of that, but I'm sure there's some. At least having two Prestons in your shelter was lore accurate in a way with the
It's like-
imposter.
Tiberius Septim was not alive in the Fourth Age. He was clearly a Second and Third Age king. I'm making all that up. If anyone complains about my lore just then, yes, that's all my gameplay. What did you get into, Jess?
Well, before I get into what I played, Ray. So, did you have any more thoughts on the NG Plus thing? Because I knew you started talking about that before I asked Andrew about his
Oh, sorry.
Starfield, like about how the limiting choices and the no consequences. Like any other thoughts about how that's happening or why that's the choice they made?
Not really. And that's part of the game that I've really avoided. Really, the only compelling part of NG Plus for me is the progressively harder level. And so, I've seen some gameplay with that people have gone NG Plus 10 and then Extreme, and just, how insane it gets when you do that.
Yep.
But I'll just watch their videos. I don't want to go through all that trouble to get
That's
there.
the way to do it. You can see the weird worlds, and I like the concept of it and the fact that it can change the playthrough and the foreknowledge, especially if you've done quests or haven't. Like if you've done things before that you'll have knowledge about them and stuff. I mean, that's neat. And special dialogue, that's neat. But yeah.
So I do know that there's a console command that you can use to force yourself to that level.
You can tag yourself as Starborn. You can say, I am Ultimate Starborn. I know all, right from the beginning with a console command. Cool. Well, my gameplay is incredibly, incredibly simple this week. It's funny. I was telling the guys right before we started that I felt guilty because this is the third week in a row I've had very little gameplay. Some, of course. I was in 76 for a couple hours, did a number more caravans, jumped on a stream with a friend and did the caravans, seen more of those quests there and stuff we can unlock. But beyond that, not a whole lot. And then Shattered Space, of course, is funny. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I can't. Of course I can. And so I downloaded Shattered Space. And to get it started on console, a lot of people found you have to kind of download it twice. So for those who haven't updated yet, Starfield has an update. And then you can tell it to download the Shattered Space on top. So they're like two separate things. Because Shattered Space is a DLC, it needs downloaded separately from the update. It doesn't automatically happen. So not too complicated, but for people who are trying to start an Xbox who aren't able, that's why. Go into, easiest way to do it, besides going to the Windows Store, is just go into Manage, like right-click Starfield, hit the Start button on the console and go to Manage and then View All and click on the add-ons and install on Shattered Space, because it'll be right there too without having to go to the store. So Shattered Space just got in, and my experience was pretty similar. I was doing some stuff on a planet, finished a mission, jumped, and next place I jumped to, there was a big old space station there. So I love the fact it was 0G. I really like the start of it. There's some good loot. The enemies are relatively tough. Yeah, I'm into it. I'm ready to go and actually play, but I have not done anything on Varun yet. So that's my lack of gameplay. I did want to talk, and I'm glad we already did somewhat about the reception to Shattered Space, but like it seems it is mixed. And traditionally DLC, like we've talked about before, gets a little bit lower score than the main game. Like we were doing the Metacritic game with Andrew the other day, and Far Harbor and Nuka World both had Metacritics in the high 70s, like both lower than the main game Fallout 4 itself. And that seems to be a lot of games and their DLC are like that. I think some of the few exceptions are maybe like Witcher 3. But I've been listening to a lot of people, checking a few YouTube videos, because there's Shattered Space and Starfield being back in the public consciousness. Everyone's come out of the woodwork. Just when we had for the last 5 months, the release of maps, and then we got some great updates in March or April. Then we got the maps, then we got creations and mods, and like public sentiment on Starfield in people playing it better and better and better all summer. Then we got the Rev 8. People are excited. Most everybody feeling good about it. And then Shattered Space hits, and suddenly it's like all that goodwill disappeared. But I realized that it's not necessarily those same people who were actually appreciating how much Starfield had changed and improved, but that it just brought people out of the woodwork who were already Starfield haters who didn't enjoy it at first, and either were coming back for the first time after trying it for 10, 20 hours or whatever, that first month it was out, and are now back and like, no, I still hate it and I'm going to talk about it. Or people who it's still trendy to hate on Starfield. And again, it doesn't matter, but they are coming out of the woodwork with social media and reviews and negativity. So I'm like, ooh, I hate that. It feels bad. It's been getting me a little bit upset because of how much I enjoy the game and what it adds. But then I've stopped and I've listened, and I'm in a few Starfield groups and other places. And while the majority of them are enjoying it if they're exploring, Ray's sentiment about the main quest being a bit limited, and without going into the spoiler thing, a bit short, a bit limited, and not having the choice that you would want. People are legitimately disappointed about that. And then there are people who just expected more from it, who do like the game but may not play as much, and just, they're like, for a $30 expansion DLC, it's just not worth it for that price. And I can totally see that from what you've said, Ray, from what other people have said, from what I've heard. Like, no, it's funny because on one hand, if you love Starfield, you're like, more Starfield, whatever the price, no big deal. I'll pay $30 for something adds to the game, whether it's 10, 20 hours, no big deal. But if you're actually looking at value for money, you might feel like, no, this isn't worth it, So I just wanted to say that I do understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. And I'm starting to hear people more who just don't like the way Starfield is set up. I think it's kind of what you want to get out of a game. You know what I mean? I consider Starfield to have good exploration. We've talked about that. I enjoy when you can go to all these different systems, find places to land on the planets, land on cities, and discover quests. Okay, the quests you get in cities, that kind of it. But landing on a planet and exploring random procedural locations, that does nothing for me. And I understand why it does nothing for others. So I enjoy that exploration. But people who want specifically the Skyrim-style exploration, where you just pick a location and go in a direction and find stuff. Or Fallout 4 exploration, or Fallout 3, you pick a direction, you go, you find stuff. That is just not in the game. The exploration you get is from the system map and quests. And so if it's not offering you that, and if it's not offering you the same kind of quirky characters, because I love the companions in Starfield. I think they're the most fleshed out companions we've had, the main four. So the way that they comment on quests, on your decisions, and Andreja and Sam and Sarah and Barrett. They have so much to say. They're really rich characters. But I understand why people think they're a little bit flat too, because they are all kind of the same alignment. And you can get companions that are cooler with things, with you being a bit of a pirate or a bit of a thief or whatever, but it's not your Constellation companion. So it's people like Betty Hauser or the guy with the Crimson Fleet there with an M. I forget his name. They are not as fleshed out. Like those companions, I think they're fine. They're essentially Fallout 4 companions without a personal quest. Like maybe less than Preston Piper or Nick or like Hancock. But you take someone like McCready or Curie, whatever, like if you took away their main quests, they don't really have that much to say. Like a few interactions, a few noticing locations, and that's kind of where the Starfield and other companions are. If you want a deeper companion and you want quirky characters, Starfield doesn't have a whole lot of them. Like a lot of the other Fallout games, of course, have tons of quirky, unusual characters. But yeah, Starfield is a little bit, it's based in realism enough that I guess I just want to acknowledge that I'm starting to understand why some people aren't as into Starfield as I am, because they want different things out of it.
Come on, Vasco is a riot.
I mean, he can be, and there are lots of great characters. I love them for what they are, but it's not as funny.
Do you know anyone who would claim that Starfield is their favorite video game?
Yeah, I think I do.
You do? Okay, cool.
I know people who would at least claim it's their favorite recent game or current favorite game.
Emil Pagliarulo, or whatever his name is, says it's the best game they ever made.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, to be fair, that is quoting. So there were a couple articles recently talking to Emil, And he said, in some ways, it's the best game we've ever made. He's not saying it's the best game we made, but he's saying
come
in
on,
some ways.
Let's
Couching it there a little
The,
bit.
Yeah.
the thing is, I agree with him. I agree with him that in some ways it's the best game they've made. And I think Starfield has potential to be their best game, but I don't know that it will. I mean, mods might get it there, and the expansions that they continue doing DLC for a couple years might get it there, but it needs a little more. Is character the word I want? I think for some people it needs more character.
Yeah.
So flip it on its head. What is it the worst Bethesda game about, if that makes sense? Like, it does certain things the best game we've ever made. What are the worst things about Starfield?
Well, I mean, I think people complain about it enough that those are all pretty much known. People love complaining about the loading screens, too much time in menus and loading screens. The UI isn't the best.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
For
That's
menus.
been since fucking PlayStation 3. Come on.
Yeah, but I understand how they feel it's worse on this because of the way that you can't just pick a direction and go. We mostly play to minimize that sort of thing. Like, we play to minimize the loading screens because you can go from planet to planet, or you can get in your ship if you want. Like, it's up to you how you play. But-
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways to cut out a lot of the loading screens
right.
if you just understand how that mechanic works.
If you play it a lot, you know, and if you don't, just realize you can open up the system, you go to the map, you can fast travel anywhere. You don't need to go to your ship and then load into space and then go to another system, then pick a planet. You don't need to do the 5-6 steps to get anywhere. You can get there in one. You can go from standing in the middle of Jemison to standing in the middle of Neon with one loading screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't play wrong, y'all. Like, I'm not gonna
That's what
gatekeep how you
complaining
play.
about. They're instead of fast traveling, they were
So
going
much.
into their ship. So
Keep-
load screen there. So they got to the cockpit. So they had to do a load screen after they pull up their star map, and then do a
Yeah.
load screen after opening up the star map to choose a planet to go to. Then there's a load screen when you after you chose the planet to land on the planet. Yeah,
Yes, that's why people complain about loading screens, because that's what a lot of them are doing. Now,
Ugh,
the first
Good
time you go
Lord.
somewhere, of course there's going to be more. Yes, you have to get in your ship.
yeah.
Yes, you have to go to Mars and you have to land the first time. But once you've done that, you never have to do it again unless you want
Yeah,
to.
you can
You know?
wriggle your nose like Genie and poof, you're there.
Exactly. Exactly. And I do think that as far as maybe personality, it is lacking in some departments. It doesn't do alternate routes as far as evil characters as well as some of them. You know what I mean? In a way that is actually satisfying.
Okay.
And it doesn't have the quirkiness of Fallout, you know?
Yeah.
Or
Probably the
like-
most glaring issue is that there's no cannibal.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Like, I'm sorry. Look at all this like wrapped food right in a spacesuit, ready to eat meals.
Just peel back the foil and there you go.
They should give you a microwave gun, like whoop, Jiffy Pop. Anyway,
Yeah. So, I mean, I still really like Starfield. I find it very replayable. So, after I finished up doing everything I really could think of to do in Shattered Space, I started a new character, and I started it with the alt start and used the random location option to start.
wow.
And I ended up, it dropped me at Vlad's Villa.
Of all places, Vlad's Villa. Oh my gosh. So good loot, good starting weapon. But can you fast travel anywhere from there? Like in your ship in the frontier?
I haven't tried. So this character is not going to grab jump.
This character's going to live on that planet. That's a
And
great.
he'll live in the Smyrna.
Can you fly from system to system?
Yeah, so I can fly to all the different planets and moons. You know, that's something that you can do in Starfield.
Right.
And it's different. It's a completely different game.
There's
I'm going to have to go to all the different planets to try to find all the resources I need to be able to build a base, because because of the limitations I placed on it, I can't fly to Neon and buy all the stuff I need.
Right. No,
Um,
there's still a ton of variations. I want to be very clear here. I still love Starfield just as much. This is not about me, but this is about that space and having those people who dislike it kind of come back and say their piece.
Yeah.
I can see a little more now than I could before why they're not liking it as much as I do. I still
Mhm.
think it's awesome. And there are so many ways to play. It's got so many systems right from the start. Like, it is a better sandbox than most of their games. And creations and mods, I've barely touched that stuff yet. And they're already growing and growing. Starfield is the game that keeps on giving. And I still think it's going to get to a point where most people can acknowledge that it's pretty great, but Shattered Space didn't get us there. And I feel like maybe I've been Pollyannaing it a bit. And I just want to not Pollyanna it for a bit and say, I hear you. Maybe it's not for you, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And, again, for me, if it had been different, and I had to pay for this and I actually understood what I was getting, I would not have bought Shattered Space.
Yeah. That's
because
fair.
For the way that I play, it doesn't add enough to make it worthwhile. You get 2 planets and a handful of moons, and that's it. Outside of the story, and once the story's done, it's just kind of done.
Right. Yeah. It's another location that you can maybe do some stuff in, but yeah.
So
it's my favorite color. Very purple.
It's very well, and the sky is intensely red.
Yes, it's like a mix of indigo and red and purple. Like, I mean, this aesthetic was made for me. It's my room.
Yeah, and it really does look nice. So,
but yeah, so that's my gameplay. Is very little, but excited to dive into Shattered Space soon. Oh, guess what? Your girl did accomplish too. I actually, with Dragon to come out in a month, I got all my time off for the year finally because I hadn't taken any days off yet this year, which I know, bad me. So I hadn't taken a personal day. I haven't taken a day off or anything this year.
Jesus Christ, man!
I told my boss I kind of had to get that done, so I got some days. So I'm fitting like 3 weeks off in the last 2 months of the year, including
all at once.
Not all at once. No, spread out a little bit, of course.
Okay.
But I don't want to impact the team too badly. But we got something
That'd be awesome. You just took a month off. You're like, I'm out.
But I've got it's close to it, so I've got
later, guys.
The entire week for Dragon Age coming out, and then again for Thanksgiving week, and then again I got a week around Christmas too.
Awesome.
So
dude.
yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that and catching up with my gaming. I mean, I'll be done with my current project in another week or so, but
yeah. I've taken the next 3 months off.
Oh, good choice, Ray. Good choice. I'm glad you could schedule that.
That is one of the only drawbacks of my new job is that I was at my old job for so long that I had maxed out to the top level of PTO. And then I go to this new job and it's like restarting from square one.
Oh, that is painful.
Yeah. Time off is good for you.
Yeah, it is. Right.
You guys, I think that wraps up our gameplay. And I think we have a terminal velocity coming up from Sulior, sending in another terminal from Westech. You guys want to check that out?
Hello, fellow Wastelanders. Eric, aka Sulior here, and I am back with some more readings from the Westech facility in Fallout 76. Today we are going to be going through Darren Spielman's terminal. He's another one of the technicians in the decontamination, and he works closely with Carl Worth, who was in the first reading. And Spielman was mentioned quite a bit in that one. So here is everything from Spielman's perspective. So, Technician's Log, May 3rd, 2077. Bardwell's all over my ass about getting the decontamination arches up and running. How the hell am I supposed to come up with the decontamination method for something that's totally experimental? To make matters worse, Westech HQ refuses to give me the FEV's chemical and organic breakdown, so I'm totally shooting in the dark. My degree in biochemistry never prepared me for this, but I should have known things would be different around here when I had to get a high-level clearance just to walk in the door. Technician's Log, May 22nd, 2077. 3 weeks and about 60 compounds later, I've still got nothing. This FEV is some tenacious stuff. I know that FEV is virus-based, so I've approached it from that angle. Unfortunately, every antibiotical compound known to man isn't designed to handle something this, well, virulent. What I need is to come up with some sort of booster, a total neutralizing agent that will render the FEV inert. Well, back to the drawing board. Technician's log, June 11th, 2077. Picture this. Bardwell's standing there in his biohazard suit yelling at me to get my ass moving on the decontamination arches. Worth sneaks up right behind him and dumps a canister of FEV right over his head. You should have seen his face. He freaked the hell out. He was screaming, rolling around on the floor. Hell, I think he was crying. I let it go on for almost a full minute before I activated the arches and let my neutralizing agent wash him off. Worked like a charm. I'm on crap detail for the next 2 weeks for doing that to him, but it was totally worth it. Technician's log, June 16th, 2077. Bardwell's still pissed about my demonstration, but at least he's quit shouting at me. I spent the last few days culturing thousands of gallons of my neutralizing agent, not only for use in the decontamination arches, but into the emergency dump tanks. Apparently, the folks back at West Tech HQ wanted ripcord just in case this place is in danger of being captured or something. If you ask me, they're paranoid, but I just do as I'm told, like a nice little robot.
To participate in the Fallout Terminal Velocity project, send your special letters, holotapes, and terminal entries to thefalloutfeed@gmail.com.
So those terminals are from Darren Spielman in the Technicians Research Center. And it's funny because that actually ties into the one he did last week. Last week it was Worth, who he mentions here. Worth, who actually used the neutralizing agent to neutralize all the FEV. But can you imagine clocking into work, dealing with some BS, and having someone dump FEV all over your head? I'd be mad too.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Is FEV like, I understand it does different things, like it has something to do with making super mutants, and like it does a bunch of different things.
So different strains of FEV have different effects, but also it's kind of a catalyst where they use it to change, but then also other things they do can kind of guide or affect the change. But regardless, it's going to cause mutations. Absolutely. It's not the nice evolutionary virus. It's the forced evolutionary virus. So you get splashed with FEV, you're in trouble.
Is it one short exposure is guaranteed mutation at
cause
that
trouble?
point, or is
I
it
would
like
think.
constant exposure over time?
So it's going to start as a catalyst no matter what. I don't know that it's where it's documented in lore how much a small exposure to FEV versus large exposure, how much difference that makes and how it works over time.
Chronic versus acute exposure.
Yeah, and a single acute exposure, as you're talking about, that's all you need to become a super mutant, isn't it? You don't need regular.
I don't know. Is it one dip,
FEV.
or is it a bunch of shots over time, or?
Well,
Don't they like cook them in the bats?
yeah, when they make more of them, they dip them in the green stuff. I don't know how long they dip them for. Like maybe they dip them for an hour and pull them out, and that's all it takes. I don't know.
Yeah. And, of all the dumb ways to piss somebody off, potentially mutating him into something that,
A monster
it doesn't seem like a real good call to me.
he'll come smash your face in, rip you apart.
Yeah.
He's like, "Come here, nerd."
It's interesting. I have to dig deeper into learning more about exactly how it works. FEV was used in the experiments that caused not just super mutants, but what are their horrific little pals there?
Yeah,
Centaurs are
good lord.
FEV too. Like a lot of things are FEV.
Were those people? What were the centaurs?
They were people mixed with other creature DNA in some cases.
Oh, okay.
Like they're weird hybrids. But it causes accelerated mutation. And I think a single exposure is enough to let the DNA and the effects propagate.
Wow.
But I'd have to look it up to be sure.
And one last observation. This is a technician's log that we're listening to here.
Yes. In Huntersville. No, in West.
I literally write technician's logs all day long at my job. This sounds more like a fucking diary entry than the technician's log.
It does. No, you're right. Some of the
And
entries.
so he was writhing in pain in the FEV, and I was just like, let him sit there for a minute, and it was pretty cool. And you're like, no, that's not how technicians' logs are written. That's hilarious.
Also, Lee has a very astute observation in chat where he says, I haven't seen much cute coming out of an FEV vat.
Yeah,
He's right.
it never makes anything cuter.
No, it doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to give him chubby little cheeks.
Bunny ears or something.
Oh, but thanks so much for the terminal velocity. Philly, I really enjoyed that one.
And we're always looking for more entries. If anyone's interested, hit us up. thefalloutfeed@gmail.com.
So, Andrew,
Yes.
I see we got some game time on the map. Do you have them available on the road?
I do. I brought my little notebook with me, and hopefully we can knock out a couple of quick little games here. Nothing too involved. A popular favorite in the Discord group has been STP the last couple weeks, otherwise known as Skills, Traits, and Perks. And Ray, I don't know if you listened last week,
I
but
did.
I kind of figured out that you can't
Yeah,
really
it works
just
better
go
if
for-
you nail down
Yeah.
one particular game.
You have to do one game, therefore, because like I mentioned, like something in Fallout 1, which was a skill, actually turns into being a perk by Fallout 4. So we can't really go cross games like we were doing. But this week we'll drop it down to a game that I know we've all played, one of us loved, Fallout 1. Everybody will play skills, trades, or perks for Fallout 1. So, Ray, we'll let you have honor since you were absent last week. Could you let me know, is traps a skill, trade, or a perk? Traps.
Traps. Oof.
It's like Are they talking about your ability to dismantle weapons or your awesome deltoids?
Yeah, they're talking about your trap for sure. Do you even lift, bro?
Do you even lift, bro? Don't skip leg day.
So I'm going to go with skills.
That is correct. Good job, Ray. How about Jess for you? How about fast shot? Fast shot. Is that a skill, a trait, or a perk?
I'm going to say that is a perk.
Oh, Ray, would you like to steal?
Trait.
That is a trait. All
So
right.
let's pick it ahead. Okay.
Ray, back to you. Skill, trait, or perk? Heave ho!
I'll go trait.
Jess, would you like to steal?
I would. I'm going to call it a perk.
That is a perk. Good job, you guys. Okay, so Jess, back to you then. We have a doctor in the house. Doctor. Is that a skill, a trait, or a perk?
You know, it's
Doctor.
funny. Like, I would think maybe doctor would be a trait and medicine would be the skill. But let's go with skill because it's the first game. Skill.
Boom. She nailed it, everybody.
Okay.
Good job, Jess. Doctor is a skill. All right, Ray, back to you, sir. Good natured. Is that a perk, trait, or skill? Good natured.
I'll stick with trait.
You are correct. Good job. Trait for good nature. Jess, back to you. Perk, skill, or trait? Slayer.
Oh, okay. Slayer is a perk.
Mana. Yes.
Awesome.
It is a
Nice.
perk. Good job.
Yeah. That they have in Fallout London.
Oh, do they really? That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yep.
What does it do? Do you know offhand?
Increases your melee damage, I think.
Fast healing. It happens once in a generation. You're great at killing vampires.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
I forget who we're on. Jess, are we back to you? Or
It's
are we
Ray.
on to
Ray.
Ray. We have science next. Is that a skill, a trait, or a perk in Fallout 1?
That'd be a skill.
That is a skill. Good job. Jess, back to you. Do we have jinxed? Jinxed.
Oh, wow. I think that's a trait.
It is a trait. You guys are nailing these. Good job. Ray, last one back to you, sir. Dodger. Dodger. Is that a skill, a trait, or a perk? Dodger.
Gosh, isn't that a curse?
Not if you're artful.
Perk?
It is a perk. Good job, you guys. Got them all with steals and stuff. If you count.
Yeah, I think we only missed 2 or 3. So well done, y'all.
Yeah.
So I want to just quickly go over a couple for people who are like, wait, but what do they do?
Oh,
So-
yeah. What are those?
Because we're back on we're on the first game. So you mentioned fast
Right.
shot. Fast shot was a trait, and all attacks with weapons use 1 less AP in combat. So that's a good one because AP
That is
is
good.
really scarce in the first
Yes.
game.
Yes.
Yeah, more actions
Very,
per
very
move.
valuable.
Good natured. You take it at the beginning and it gives you plus 15% to first aid, doctor, speech, and barter. That's a good one.
Oh, Yeah, not too bad.
Jinxed is really cool, and they should bring that back in another game because what it does, more critical failures for people around you. So when it's rolling the dice
Oh.
for people around you, they are more likely to have failures and critical
That's
failures.
hilarious. I like that.
Yeah, so I wonder what that would make happen, like dropping a grenade on themselves or, just completely misfiring, stuff like that. So I thought that was good. I think those are the only
Yeah.
traits you had on your list were those ones.
Yeah, yeah. How about heave ho as a perk? What do you think? Is that something with throwing grenades? Maybe
So
something like that.
Heave ho is a perk. It gives you +2 strength for the range of a weapon, of a thrown weapon. So if you're using
okay.
like javelins or some of the thrown weapons in the game.
Throw 2 squares further.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool.
Other ones like that, Slayer, since we brought that one up, that's all hand-to-hand attacks or critical hits. So you always crit with your hand-to-hand.
Holy shit! That is. Oh wait, only hand to hand, not
Right.
not melee. Okay,
Yeah.
but still,
and
that's pretty cool.
in London, Slayer is the speed of all your melee and unarmed attacks are increased.
Yeah, that's a little bit more balanced. Like everything, everything being critical hits with your fists. I mean, registered weapons. So
What-
faster is more balanced.
I don't know if I've asked before. What is the perk? Is it a chart or a tree or what's it look like for London? Is it exactly Fallout 4's perks?
No, I mean,
No.
it's a little bit funky.
Yeah, it's a big old
Um,
list. It's
it's
a
a
big old
list. In the first part of the list are all of the new, unique Fallout London perks. And then they list all the special perks without telling you which special.
Right. They list all of them, but there's no dividing line. And it
Oh,
shows
good
ones you're eligible
Lord.
for. Yeah, it's not the best system. It's like Fallout 3's, but harder to read. Much harder to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should get a job as a salesman for
Not
It's
selling you
just like
something?
Fallout 3, but
Yeah,
a
so-
worse system.
So it works out. It works out if you plan your perks, because you just on this level, I'm taking this perk. You can. There's a sort option that lets you only show the perks that you're eligible for, and so that drastically shortens the list, and so you can go through it quicker.
Okay.
But
filter by
it's pretty handy if you have them planned out and you use the eligible sort.
Well, you need to map out our 50 perk character build chart, and then you'll be all set. Are there levels, like 3-level stars, 5 levels of perks, stuff like that, or are they sort of just like individual?
No, it's just like 4.
Okay.
There's multiple levels.
Yeah, there's
Cool.
somewhere it's only one rank and somewhere you can take multiple levels.
Yeah.
Just like in 76, which again,
yep.
they are simplifying on a number of them coming up soon. But
Oh
yeah,
no! Quit changing stuff, guys.
no, this could be a good change. You just got to get used to it, We
I
fear
don't like
change.
the new
but-
legendary system because now I can't just roll on them anymore.
No, once you learn stuff, it's cool. And those of us who've been playing for a long time and are tired of it, we already have the legendary gear we want.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not as big of a deal anyway for us. But
Yeah.
so,
All right.
do you want to take us to Mapalachia?
Let's go to Mapalachia. You guys, last week we did that island Fahaba. So we're swinging back to the other side of the map. We're going over to Nuka World today, you guys.
Oh, good one.
Oof.
Nuka World map here on Mapalachia. So Jess, we started with Ray last time, so we'll let Jess have honors. Further north in Nuka World, Jess, would you like the Angry Anaconda or the North Point Reservoir?
Ooh, the Angry Anaconda area or the North Point Reservoir. I think the North Point Reservoir is further north.
Absolutely. Good job, Jess. Ray, to you. Further south, the Hubologists Camp or Evans Home. That quaint little trailer set up down there. Evans Home or the Hubologists Camp?
I'm going to go with Evans.
Evans Home is correct. Good job.
That's a tricky one,
Ray.
though.
Jess, back to you. Further east. My absolute favorite location on the map there. Wixon's Shovel Museum or The Morton residence, way up there. The Morton residence.
Yeah, they're way up there. They're northeast, but I think we'll go Shovel Museum.
Oh,
Did I dig myself a hole with that one?
You dug it deep, deep, deep. Wixon Shovel Museum, just slightly more. Sometimes I like to pick those ones where they're further apart, but the distance, like, you know what I mean? Just, it's hard to judge. But Ray, last one. Further west, the Nuka World Junkyard or the Nuka World Power Plant.
Oh, that one's pretty easy. That's the
Yeah.
power plant.
Yeah, power plant's way, way up.
I don't want you finding it till the
anywhere
end.
close to west. Yeah. So good job, you guys. Thanks for playing this week's Mapalachia in Nuka World. That was game time. Thank you.
So, Iguana Bits, we do have a few. Shattered Space is out. We talked about it. It's enough. Review roundup. Right now, the Open Critic Metacritic is around a 58, which is low. But again, we've got some sites giving it a 4 and 5, and some sites giving it an 8 and 9. It's everywhere. It's kind of, if you like Starfield, you probably feel the same about Shattered Space. It's ridiculous. I've never seen a game like this. It drives me, as you guys can tell, a little bit bonkers. But we'll see where it ends up. Yeah, in the world of Fallout 76, it is October. The Haunted House contest I mentioned has started.
Yes.
Officially announced by Bethesda. This time, there are going to be 3 categories: traditional, creative, and abstract again. But the prizes are 10,000 atoms this time. So not 20,000 like the summer cabin camps this summer, but 10,000 atoms for each category. So work on getting those spooky builds in. A haunted house, either kind of like traditional, small, creative, expanded, or completely abstract, like your own idea of what you think a haunted house should be, or a haunted build should be, and submit it on their Discord. And that is running through, I believe, the 23rd. You have to have it in by the 23rd for Fallout Day. Also, I mentioned that the PTS had started last week, and I was going to I had on the notes that people had found the raid location where the raid's going to start. The new, where we're going to fight the snake and stuff like that, with the expansion coming out for 76 in probably December. I don't believe they announced an official date, but it'll be with the next season. However, starting today, they started testing it. So not only do we find where it's going to start, but it actually did start today, this afternoon, in fact. So some people have been out there doing it, and I'm hearing that it is tough but fun. There was some questions about how does this differ from what we can already do? Because we already have, obviously, daily ops, and then we have the expeditions, which are more raid-like adventures, and there are other things like that, and then, of course, endgame bosses. So this is going to differ in that there is no time gating, no timer on this. That's not going to affect your rewards. Not like Earl, you have to kill in a certain amount of time, or the Queen have to finish in a certain amount of time. Not like an expedition where doing it slow, you take less. So there's no time gating. There are high value rewards for this one, they say. I don't know what that means, but high value rewards. And it's going to require teamwork and endgame builds. So while teamwork is important to an extent, as you guys know, you can show up to a 76 event, have 3 random people who don't know each other, and they just do whatever they do. These raids are supposedly going to require teamwork and coordination. So things where you're going to want to be in voice chat. You're going to want to actually talk it out and not just see what pops up in the corner and do the thing,
Is this going to go as well as the last time they did the raids that they discontinued?
I'm hoping better. Now, Andrew is referring, of course, to the Vault 94 raids. With the 3 things there, and they did not run very well at first. There was a lot of stuttering, a lot of crashing, a lot of Angel being locked in power armor for 20 minutes.
Everyone remembers Angel's traumatic evening.
But she stayed to help you guys get it done. Yeah. So, I mean, they are being tested. So that is a difference in that they are in the PTS now being tested. And they've really got a different sort of handle on what they can and can't do in the engine and how these things work at this point, I think, for 76. So no, I expect them to probably have bugs, but probably not fail. Not like all these ways that can insta-fail, like that one did. So the raid is actually called Gleaming Depth, and it's for 4 high-level and fully geared characters. Have to work together with co-op mechanics to overcome the bosses within. So there may be things where certain people have to hit triggers, other people have to shoot certain things, other people have to definitely, how with like Earl, you got to have a person or two taking care of the add-ons while you're shooting Earl. Like you really have to focus on both. But you can just shoot Earl and keep respawning. This is probably not going to be like that. You're probably going to have to coordinate a little bit better. There is going to be a contextual ping system as well. So people don't want to use voice. There will be a ping system so you can ping things to kind of like show, hey, attack here, and make that stuff working.
Will it be, did you already say, will it be like a 4-person event instanced area? Okay.
It's a 4-person event instance area. And it is designed for 4, not 1 or 2. It's a real raid. Just like the ones in Vault 94 did really require you to have multiple people. But I think people could beat it as a duo. You know what I mean? Like you could do it as a duo. I don't think with the raid you'll be able to. So
will it be like you can join on someone else's? I know you said that you prefer to have people you know who you can communicate with, but will it be like the pit where you can just hop into someone else's?
You should be
like
able
that?
to, yeah. But I don't know. It's just today's first day of testing.
Right. Sorry.
Don't know. There may be a thing where you have to have a fully formed team before you jump in. So that'll be the question. Like, can you play with randoms? Yes. But do you need to have the team assembled and then go in together?
Before it'll go, right.
Yeah. And I don't know that yet because a lot of raids do require that in other games to be like, you have to have your team of however many, 3, 4, 8, whatever it is, and then join the raid instance. So don't know if it's going to be like that or not. We'll find out. Here's a couple new things. So talking PTS still, they are also testing player titles. So a lot of games have titles in MMOs where you can be like, the indomitable, the glorious, the unremarkable, things like that. And
the unremarkable.
you earn them through events. So by achieving certain objectives, it'll unlock titles and challenges. For the challenges that we have, like in the social menu and the environmental menu and all that, probably would be the sort of things that would unlock them. So they're currently testing that. And through your Pip-Boy, you can combine different prefixes and suffixes to come up with a nickname that suits you. You can earn them from public events, limited time events, main quests, and seasons. These unique titles help you stand out from the crowd. And also the Gleaming Depths, the new raid, will have its own titles. So it does say for long-term players, any titles associated with stuff you've already done will be granted to your account. They're just starting to add now. I don't know what they're going to be yet, but it's starting in the PTS today. So that'll be fun.
Oh, yeah.
And we already talked through a bunch of changes on the perks, and they're adding and removing things, dealing with that. The camp pets are live in the PTS. They are not just rumored; they are actually testing the pets. Camp cats, camp doggos. They are in the game. Ostriches, and they are working.
And tigers and
bears. Oh my!
Polar bears,
coyotes that you thought were a dog and brought home because you wanted to help them, and they're like, "I'm a coyote."
I brought a wolf home. Hi.
Well, I mean, you brought a wild cat home, so
I did. I wrangled it.
Yeah,
I rescued it.
I don't know if you mentioned last week or not, but Andrew has a new family member who happens to be a wrangled young cat.
We brought a trash cat home, everyone.
Surprise, it's a raccoon. So
hey, they need love too.
But that's kind of it for 76 News at the moment. Cool things happening on the PTS. Looking ahead on the calendar, Spooky Scorched don't start until the 22nd. But the sports are coming. The sports are coming. And then, of course, Fallout Day on the 23rd. So some cool things to look forward to this month. And, of course, Candy Bowl music. Get ready. The Candy Bowl music is coming.
Oh, Candy Bowl music, right.
And finally, this is just a quick little digression. So we had talked a couple times about how the Fallout TV show brought more people in. And I mentioned where the retention was and how they had been staying but leaving. Well, I hadn't really checked the numbers and dug into it since August. And even then, I didn't really go deep. So I just wanted to kind of tell people kind of what I saw. So on the popularity of the games right now, if you go to the actual Steam charts and you look up all the different Bethesda games, the way it is set up right now is Skyrim is still the most popular. Skyrim's still often getting 22,000 concurrent players at a time as an average. Starfield is right now second most of the time. It's hitting between 14 and 17,000 concurrent. Fallout 4 is averaging 12 to 14 concurrent right now. And sometimes right now, like up until the launch, Fallout 4 and Starfield were kind of fighting for concurrent players, and Fallout 4 was sometimes still winning. And then 76 has dropped to right now an average of 9 or 10,000 concurrent in the month of September. So that's kind of where
has more players than 76. Really?
Yeah, it has. And so the reason I'm
Interesting.
mentioning that is because I kind of talked about how we were keeping, like, we had kept like 30-40% of the people who had started. Well, that's not the case anymore. So the average before the TV show for 76, for just, if you guys, stats for nerds for a minute, okay? I dove into the charts, stats for nerds. So the average for the 9 months from last August to the Fallout TV show was about 6,000 to 7,000 concurrent players average during those months in 76. They hit 7 a few times, but it was normally around 6. So after the show, it went up quite a bit. I mentioned how it had tripled and it was in the 20s, and then it's been down. So now we're still about 2,000 more average concurrent than we had before the TV show came out in 76. But it was huge. And even in July, it was still strong, like I mentioned. But looking back at the numbers, August dropped off and September is kind of about the same. So we're still about 25% more of a player base. And with all the
Nice.
people that came and tried the game for the 3 months after the TV show, a larger player base who might come back for things, come back for events, come back for this and that. So
What month did the show start? I forget.
I think it was
That
April
was
11th.
April.
Yeah, April
April.
11th, maybe. But I mean, the spike was incredible for Fallout 4
Mhm.
and even 76 during that time. But I thought I wanted to address retention because I was talking like, oh, we were still, at 50%. No, in July we were. But looking, August, it ended up down around this 9 to 10,000 range. And Starfield, the reason I actually was in the charts was because of Starfield again. I was curious how much of a spike they had gotten. And with Shattered Space, they did not get the spike you would expect on Steam. I mean, there was a spike, but went from your average of 14,000 or so up to 22 or so when it came out on Monday, Tuesday. And we'll see probably more in it this weekend, of course, with it being the weekend. But yeah, I was just kind of curious. So that's how the game stuck up right now. Skyrim most popular, Starfield and Fallout 4 kind of fighting for second most, and then Fallout 76 in the fourth category for current players. But given how long they've all been out, that's a pretty strong player base compared to most games because they are all in the top 100, except for Fallout 76 that has just fallen just below the top 100 games on Steam for players.
And if Fallout 4 had 12 different variations, I'm sure it would be on top of Skyrim. Because you can play Skyrim on 12 different things, 12 different versions. Fallout 4, you're limited to our initial release stuff here.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And this is just Steam, so it's not comprehensive,
Yeah.
but I just thought that was interesting if people were curious what the real numbers were.
If you do incorporate all platforms, what is the biggest change in the numbers then versus just only the Steam numbers? You
There's
still
not
think Skyrim is the most popular game?
I would still think Skyrim was probably most popular, especially with Starfield only being on Xbox. But
Oh, right.
yeah, there's
I forgot
multiple.
about that
There
limiting
are,
factor.
but yeah, seeing the spike for Fallout 4 when the show came out, just incredible. How much
That's awesome. Yeah.
changed? Yeah.
And it's also kind of surprising that they've held on to as much as they have because of how rough the update was and still is. If you can't roll back,
Yeah.
you're in a world of hurt because you're going to have trouble
Yeah.
playing in Fallout 4.
PC players right now they have it rough for sure. But that's it for the bits. Fully roasted. Delicious.
That's it for the bits. Did you have any shouts on our way out the door, Jess? I had one thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I got a couple. Just a quick one for one of the other podcasts I do with friends, the Modus Files. Talk about it every once in a while. Modus Files is up again for a Signal Award. So you guys might remember we won a Signal Award last year. We are up for a Signal Award again this year under Best Writing Fiction. Just want to mention that. So I will drop a link in the Discord. Actually, I think Lawrence did. Our show writer and narrator already dropped a link in the Stream Pod video share channel of the Discord. You can go there and vote, and I will drop a link maybe in the show notes or somewhere else. But feel free, if you listen to those files at all, to vote for us because we'd love to win again. That would be incredible.
What are you going to do with your prize money?
Shout out to my people. I actually got a big old trophy for the last one.
That's awesome. That's great. That's great. Good job, you guys.
So shout out to him and everybody who works on the show and listens. Thank you.
All right. I have one last topic before we sign off for the evening. I have a bunch of cool Fallout items, memorabilia, all sorts of stuff. We were giving out t-shirts a little while back via Game Time, but I actually want to start a list where I can just pull from and be like, this week Jess is playing for this person, and this week Ray is playing for this person, and whoever wins gets the prize, and I will mail this Fallout Feed themed prize to you. I've got some shirts, and there's cups and mugs and masks and just all sorts of weird Fallout and Bethesda related stuff. So we're going to start a program that we're the Fallout Feed prize posse. So if you're interested in being on the prize posse list, hit us up at the Fallout Feed at gmail.com. And it'll just be a fun little Fallout tinker, or not tinker.
That would be fun to do again.
Trinket. Trinket's the word I was looking for. A fun little Fallout trinket to add to your shelf collection or something. So
get the people in the Discord to join in. Actually, I do have another shout, Andrew, if you don't mind.
Great. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just want to give a shout out to Stratoblaster, who's listening live for one of the first times tonight. Appreciate it. And
awesome.
Really enjoyed that little camp vid I saw of yours the other day, too. So that is very cool. Also, we had someone else new join the Discord tonight, Technomancer, who has been a listener for a long time, and he and his wife are thinking about jumping into Fallout 76. So
I like that handle, Technomancer. That's good.
Technomancer, yeah, it's a good name for sure.
Technomancer.
But they played MMOs before, but they haven't played 76, and they're looking to play together. So they are wondering what kind of character builds that they can do that would be complementary. Like if there's a good way to set that up. And so we're talking about it a bit in Discord, and I think it's something for us to think about the next little bit, because 76 is much more of a every man for themselves kind of game, even though we play as teams, but there are team perks that work together. There are weapons that work together. And if you were trying to synergize, what would be best?
What did Clint and Charlene do? Do they play complementary characters, or do they just kind of have at it?
See, I think we should ask them. Like, I think we should kind of do a little bit of investigation on this and thinking about it, because it's really not a way that people play in 76. Traditional MMOs are very much about that. You've got your tank, your support, your DPS, your heals,
right.
Various things. And 76 is not set up that way per se, but people do end up kind of taking that role a little bit. There are people who will drop their Stimpack diffuser or make sure that they always have perks on to help other players and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not the way 76 is normally played, but I thought it was a good question.
That's a good topic. We'll get into that.
Also, I want to say, and people who don't get to the end won't know, so surprise, we may not have a show the next week or two. Andrew is taking a big old trip.
Right. Finally cashing in some PTO from the new job. So we're taking some time off, going to the rocky shores of Fahaba again. So that's sort of a special place I've been to a few times with my family over the years, and we're going back to spend a few days up in Acadia and the Bar Harbor area. So we'll have fun running around in coastal Maine. Always a beautiful area, and especially this fall time of year when the colors really start popping and stuff. So excited to get away and take some time off.
Yeah, lots of natural beauty, very little internet.
That's the whole point.
Indeed. So, yeah, we may drop something. Otherwise, we're going to have 2 weeks off and get some gaming in. Catch up.
Yeah, go play some games, Jess. Jesus. You have an obligation to these people. You need to play some games.
And we got a new roundtable to start, too. We got all kinds of things we got to do.
Right, we do need to get a roundtable together. Seriously, though. It's been a while.
But tonight, I think we need to wrap the show, unless you got anything else.
You can find Ray over there on the Twitters at RayLB. Also for all your Butcher Baker candle maker in space. Ray, thanks so much.
Good times.
Jess can be found at Sleep is 4T, also Dames Who Game, and at You Wastelanders. Jess, thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
They are both highly active in our Discord. Everyone, please join our Discord group there. And I am active in the Facebook group if you'd like to interact with me. And the show can be found at the Fallout Feed. I'd like to thank everyone for downloading this edition of the Fallout Feed. We will see you in the wasteland.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the Fallout Feed Roundtable. If you are interested in doing a play-along character with us, the show can be contacted by emailing falloutroundtable@gmail.com. For the roundtable schedule, our Amazon link, and all other show information, please head on over to asapodcasting.com, where you will find the Fallout feed, the Skyrim Attic podcast, our YouTube channel, the Chatterbox, as well as other content. Once again, thank you for downloading, and we'll see you in the wasteland.